My mother stood at the microphone, ready to give her mother of the bride toast. She smiled that perfect smile. The one she'd practiced in the mirror 1,000 times. What she didn't know was that I had her phone. And I was about to read every single text message she'd sent about me. Out loud. To everyone. This is about what happens when you document everything. When you realize that the person who's supposed to love you unconditionally has been sabotaging you behind your back for years. And when you finally decide that your wedding day is not going to be another performance in her narcissistic theater. You're going to learn how patience, documentation, and perfect timing can create the most satisfying moment of vindication you've ever witnessed. But sometimes the best revenge is simply the truth. My name is Jessica and I'm 31 years old. For as long as I can remember, my mother has been the center of every universe she enters. Not in a warm, nurturing way. In a controlling, everything must revolve around me way. Growing up, I learned early that my achievements were only valuable if they reflected well on her. When I got into Yale, she told everyone at her country club within hours. When I struggled with anxiety in college, she told me I was being dramatic and to stop embarrassing her. My fiancé, David, saw through her immediately. We'd been together for 4 years and he'd witnessed countless boundary violations. The surprise visits. The guilt trips. The way she'd cry if I didn't call her every single day. He called her a covert narcissist, after reading about it online. And suddenly everything clicked into place. When David proposed, on a beautiful beach in Santorini, just the two of us, my first thought after yes, was dread about telling my mother. Because I knew she'd try to make the wedding about her. And I was right. Stay with me here because what she did during the wedding planning was just the beginning. The moment I told her we were engaged, she cried. Happy tears, I thought. But within minutes, she was already planning her vision for my wedding. You'll want a spring wedding, she said. Outdoors. At the country club. I've already spoken to the event coordinator. David and I wanted a small, intimate ceremony. 50 people max. A garden venue we'd found that felt magical. October when the leaves were golden. She wanted 200 guests. A ballroom. A live orchestra. And she wanted to invite people I hadn't seen since I was 8 years old. Her friends, her colleagues, people who would praise her for throwing such an extravagant event. When I pushed back, she cried. She said I was ungrateful. That she'd dreamed of this day my whole life. That after everything she'd sacrificed for me, I owed her this one thing. So I tried to compromise. We increased the guest list to 75. We picked a venue that could work for both our vision and hers. A historic estate with gardens and a beautiful indoor reception space. But every decision became a battle. The dress. She wanted me in the poofy ball gown she'd picked out. I wanted the sleek modern gown that made me feel like myself. The flowers. He wanted white roses. Traditional, classic. I wanted burgundy dahlias and eucalyptus, romantic, moody. The menu. The music. The seating chart. Everything was a fight. But the texts. The texts were where I discovered the truth. You won't believe where this goes. It started innocently enough. My mother's phone buzzed during a dress fitting. She'd left it on the couch to go to the bathroom and I glanced at it. A text from my Aunt Linda. Is she still being difficult about the flowers? I froze. Difficult? I picked up the phone. I knew her passcode. She'd made me memorize it years ago, in case of emergencies. What I found made my blood run cold. Months of texts. Group chats with her friends. Individual conversations with family members. All about me. All tearing me apart. She's so selfish. After everything I've done for her. David is controlling her. I don't think this marriage will last. The dress she picked makes her look fat. I tried to tell her nicely. She's cutting people from the guest list. My friends. It's humiliating. I'm thinking of not even going. Let her have her small, intimate wedding. She'll regret it when she looks back and realizes no one important was there. I sat there in the bridal boutique bathroom, reading message after message, my hands shaking. This wasn't just venting. This was a coordinated campaign to paint me as a bridezilla, an ungrateful daughter, a person making terrible decisions who needed to be managed and controlled. And the worst part? Multiple family members were validating her, agreeing with her, joining in the criticism. When I came out of the bathroom, I was a different person. I smiled. I told her the dress fitting went great. And I started documenting everything. The breaking point came 6 weeks before the wedding. My mother called me crying. She'd just gotten off the phone with the venue, she said. There was a problem with the date. They'd double booked. We'd have to move the wedding to a Sunday afternoon instead of Saturday evening, or switch venues entirely. I panicked. I called the venue immediately. They had no idea what I was talking about. No double booking. No problem. Everything was exactly as planned. She'd lied. Completely fabricated a crisis to create drama and control the situation. That night I sat down with David. I showed him the texts I'd been screenshotting for the past month. His face went from shocked to angry to determined. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I wanted to uninvite her. I wanted to never speak to her again. But I also knew that would create a permanent rift with some family members who didn't know the full story, who would only hear her version of events, that her daughter cruelly excluded her from her own wedding. So I came up with a different plan. I would let her come. Let her play the doting mother of the bride. Let her give her toast. And then I would read her text. Every single one. David looked at me like I was crazy. "Are you sure?" he asked. "This will detonate the entire family." I nodded. "I'm sure. Because this is the only way people will actually believe me. I've tried to tell them before and she always spins it. But her own words in front of everyone? She can't spin that." For the next 6 weeks I became a documentarian. I continued to screenshot every text message. I organized them chronologically. I created a backup on 3 different cloud services, just in case she somehow found out and tried to delete them. I researched the psychology of public exposure for narcissists. I learned about something called narcissistic collapse. What happens when a narcissist's carefully constructed image is shattered in public. I knew there was a risk she'd completely melt down, but I also knew that my Aunt Sarah, who's a therapist, would be there. And my cousin Mike, who's built like a linebacker. I'd have support. I practiced my speech. Not in front of a mirror. That felt too performative. Just in my head over and over, making sure I could keep my voice steady. Making sure I could get through it without crying. The hardest part was acting normal. Letting her continue to help with wedding planning. Letting her think she'd successfully manipulated me into compromising on things that mattered to me. She chose the champagne for the toast. Expensive stuff. Because of course she did, she wanted everyone to comment on it. She hired a professional photographer, her photographer friend who she'd insisted we use, and gave her specific instructions to capture authentic family moments. She wanted pictures of her with me looking like the devoted mother. What she didn't know was that I'd spoken privately with the photographer. Explained the situation. Asked her to capture my mother's reaction when I read the texts. The photographer, who'd apparently dealt with difficult mothers of the bride before, agreed immediately. I also created a private group chat with David's parents, my maid of honor Rachel, and my cousin Mike. I told them exactly what was going to happen. I asked them to stay close in case my mother tried to leave or cause a scene. Rachel asked me one last time the night before the wedding, "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this? There's no going back." I was sure. This is where it gets good. Keep watching. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Exactly what David and I wanted. Small, intimate, emotional. My mother smiled through the whole thing, dabbing at her eyes with a lace handkerchief she'd specially ordered. The reception started perfectly. Cocktail hour, dinner, first dance. I was genuinely happy. This was my day, and for a few hours I let myself forget what was coming. Then it was time for toast. The best man went first. Funny, heartfelt, perfect. My matron of honor went next. He had everyone laughing and crying. Then it was my mother's turn. She stood up, smoothed her dress, an inappropriately bridal-looking cream gown that I'd bitten my tongue about, and walked to the microphone with a champagne glass in hand. "I've been waiting for this day for 31 years, she began. Her voice was warm, practiced, perfect. The day my beautiful daughter married the man of her dreams. He talked about my childhood. Carefully selected anecdotes that made her look like a devoted, selfless mother. He got a few laughs. A few ahs. She was performing and she was good at it. Then she raised her glass. To Jessica and David. May your marriage be filled with as much love as I have for my daughter." People started to raise their glasses. But I stood up. "Actually, Mom, before everyone drinks, can I say something?" She looked confused but smiled. "Of course, sweetheart." I took the microphone from her. My hands were steady. "Thank you for those kind words, Mom. Really. I thought it would be nice for everyone to hear what you actually think about me in this wedding. Since you've been so generous with your opinions in private." The room went quiet. Confused looks. David gave me a small nod from his seat. I pulled out my phone. These are text messages my mother sent over the past 6 months. To family members. To friends. About me, about David, about our wedding. I started reading. March 15th to Aunt Linda. She's being impossible about the guest list. I'm so embarrassed. My friends are asking if they're invited and I have to tell them no because Jessica is being selfish. My mother's face went pale. "Jessica, what are you?" I kept reading. April 3rd to her book club group chat. "The dress she picked makes her look fat." I tried to tell her nicely but she won't listen. "She's going to regret those photos." "Jessica, stop this right now." May 20th to Cousin Julie. "David is controlling her. I don't think this marriage will last a year." The room was frozen. People were looking between me and my mother, trying to process what was happening. I read message after message. The cruelest ones. The ones where she called me ungrateful, selfish, difficult. Where she speculated about my marriage failing. Where she criticized my body, my choices, my character. With each message, her face went from pale to red to purple. She tried to interrupt several times, but her voice came out as strangled sounds. Finally, she started crying. "You're humiliating me," she sobbed. "In front of everyone. On your wedding day." I looked at her. "No, Mom. I'm letting everyone hear your own words. Words you said about me. On what was supposed to be the happiest time of my life, you were tearing me apart behind my back." She looked around the room desperately, searching for allies. But Aunt Linda was staring at her phone, face pale, probably realizing her responses were in those screenshots too. My grandmother looked disgusted. David's parents looked shocked but supportive of me. I was just venting, she tried. Every mother needs to vent sometimes. You took this out of context. I scrolled to one more message. June 10th to your therapist friend Margaret. I'm thinking of not even going to the wedding. Let her have her little garden party. She'll realize too late that nobody important was there. She'd threatened not to come to my wedding. To family friends. While smiling to my face and pretending to be supportive. I'm done, Mom, I said quietly. I'm done pretending your behavior is normal. I'm done protecting you from consequences. Everyone here now knows exactly who you are." She stood there, frozen, tears streaming down her face. Then she grabbed her purse and ran out. My stepfather, who'd been silent this whole time, got up and followed her. The room was silent for a moment. Then my grandmother started clapping. Slowly at first, then faster. David stood and wrapped his arms around me. Rachel joined in the applause. Soon the whole room was clapping. The rest of the reception was actually amazing. Once the shock wore off, people came up to me one by one. Cousins who'd dealt with her manipulation for years. Family friends who'd suspected but never said anything. Even my stepfather came back alone and apologized for not standing up to her sooner. Aunt Linda approached me, crying, and apologized for participating in the group chats. She said she'd always felt pressured to agree with my mother and didn't realize how damaging it was. My mother, as predicted, had a complete narcissistic collapse. She sent me 17 text messages that night, oscillating between rage and victimhood. "You're dead to me. How could you do this to your mother? Everyone thinks I'm a monster now. You'll regret this when I'm gone." I blocked her number. Over the next few weeks, the family divided into camps. My grandmother and several aunts and uncles reached out to tell me they supported me. They'd known for years that my mother was difficult but didn't realize the extent of her behavior. A few family members, Cousin Julie, her husband, and one of my mother's longtime friends, sided with her. They sent me messages about forgiveness, about how family is family, about how I'd gone too far. I sent them the full context of the messages and told them they were welcome to have a relationship with her, but I wouldn't be defending my decision anymore. My mother tried several times to reach me through other people. She told my grandmother I owed her a conversation. She told my stepfather I was having a mental breakdown and needed intervention. She even tried to show up at my house 2 months after the wedding, but David answered the door and told her to leave or he'd call the police. The last I heard, she's been telling people I'm mentally ill, and that David has turned me against my own mother. Some people believe her, the ones who've never been on the receiving end of her manipulation. But the people who matter know the truth. David and I are thriving. We just celebrated our first anniversary. We took a trip to Japan, just the two of us, no family drama, no guilt trips. It was perfect. And you know what? I don't miss her. Not even a little bit. I miss the mother I wish I'd had. The one who would have been genuinely happy for me. But the woman who raised me. The one who saw me as an extension of herself rather than my own person? I don't miss her at all. So what did I learn from all of this? Lesson 1. Documentation is everything. If I hadn't had those screenshots, it would have been my word against hers. And she's a master manipulator. People would have believed her version of events. But her own words? Those were undeniable. Lesson 2. Timing matters. I could have confronted her privately. But she would have gaslit me, denied it, or twisted it into me being oversensitive. Public exposure in front of the people she cared most about impressing? That was the only thing that could cut through her defenses. Lesson 3. Not everyone will understand, and that's okay. Some people think I should have taken the high road. Forgiven her. Worked it out privately. Those people have probably never dealt with a narcissistic parent. They don't understand that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to burn the bridge. Lesson 4. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss off everyone. Going no contact with a parent is hard. It's socially stigmatized. People judge you. But you know what's harder? Spending the rest of your life trying to earn the love of someone who's incapable of giving it. Lesson 5. Your wedding day is your day. Not your mother's. Not your family's. Yours. And if someone tries to make it about them, you have every right to take back control of your own narrative. If you're dealing with a narcissistic parent, I want you to know, you don't owe them your peace. You don't owe them your happiness. You don't owe them access to your life just because they gave birth to you. Document everything. Set boundaries. Protect yourself. And if the time comes when you need to walk away entirely, know that it's not cruel, it's survival. Let me recap the key moments. Mother sends months of cruel texts about me to family members. I discover them, start documenting everything. She fabricates a venue crisis to manipulate me. I plan to expose her at the wedding. During her toast, I read her texts out loud. She has a complete breakdown and leaves. Family divides. Most support me. I go no contact permanently. 1 year later, I'm happier than ever. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting someone's own words speak for themselves. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to set boundaries with a narcissistic family member? How did it go? And if you want more stories about strategic justice and standing up for yourself, subscribe to this channel. I analyze real stories like this one every week. Stories about people who refused to be doormats and took back their power. Thanks for watching. And remember, you deserve to be treated with respect, even by family. Especially by family.